Hello movie fans, I am Ewan McQuaid and today we are talking about The Long Walk, the latest film from Francis Lawrence taking on a big old Stephen King story. Yeah, The Long Walk is an interesting one that we're going to dive into in just a few moments, but before we do, please subscribe, please like this video, please share this video, please get my content out there, I'd appreciate it a lot, and let me know if you're going to go see The Long Walk in cinemas. It releases this Friday. So for anyone who is unfamiliar, The Long Walk is a Stephen King story which takes place in the not too distant future as the world, particularly the US, is under a totalitarian regime, a dictatorship if you will, and they have this concept called The Long Walk in which a group of young men volunteer to walk. They just walk, and the last person to the last person to stop walking is the winner. You know, they are dropping like flies, and that is the main concept of this. It is a film in which they are just walking, survival of the fittest, doing whatever they can do to survive. I was really looking forward to this from the trailer. I thought this looked like a very unique and interesting concept. Full disclosure, I am not a reader. I have never once read a Stephen King book, but I've seen a lot of Stephen King films. Just last month I saw The Life of Chuck, which I wasn't overly keen on, and this was sort of more in the vein of those cool concepts that Stephen King does with sort of horror and thrillers. So walking out of The Long Walk, I thought this was a triumph. I think this is a very, very strong thriller. It's marketed as a horror. It's not really a horror. It is more of a thriller. If anything, it's more of a drama because there is a lot of talking here, and it is not necessarily slow-paced. The dialogue is quite punchy and quite snappy. It's very engaging for a film that centres around a group of people just walking. That can sound boring if I just pitch the concept to you, but the way that the characters are written, the way that their relationships worked, gets you invested in near enough every single character that is focused on, from the main character, side characters. The only character I would say who isn't necessarily fleshed out as much is the general, is the major part, played by Mark Hamill. He is more of a sort of figure. He's sort of a figurehead for the dystopia and the regime that is in place. He doesn't have too much of an arc, too much of a story, but the main characters of Raymond Garrity and Peter McCrees, played by Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson respectively, they are incredibly strong performances. Incredibly strong, particularly David Johnson, he's one of my favourite actors to watch right now. His performance in Alien Romulus I thought was fantastic, and he's absolutely fantastic here as well. He has some incredible emotional moments, he has some incredible humour, he has really, really good timing, and his acting is just sublime. He is a joy to watch on screen, and that goes for everyone in this film. I think the performances are one of the strongest points. If the performances don't work in this film where people are walking, you're not going to get engaged. You're not going to be focused on the interpersonal dynamics between the characters, but the way that they are written, you know, it really works. It has that Stand By Me and It vibes of a group of friends, which is something I wasn't necessarily expecting going into it. With it being sort of a survival of the fittest film, I wasn't expecting it to be buddy and jolly, but the relationships that they have on this walk and some of the banter that they have is so engaging and so enjoyable. It's funny. The audience I saw it with were belly laughing at points because there are some really strong sort of comedic moments that they have, comedic lines, and I think it goes to show sort of if you put a group of characters in there that are likeable, put them in any scenario, you are going to work magic, and I think that's exactly what happens here. So the main focus of the film is sort of the main four. You have Raymond, Peter, Arthur, and Hank. They are the four main, they are the sort of Stand By Me vibes. They're the group of friends that come together, and no spoilers, we'll talk about spoilers at the end, but I think their dynamic and some of the stuff that happens with them is thoroughly engaging and gut punching. Let's just say that. Without spoilers, it was pretty gut punching. You also have Charlie Plummer in there as Gary. He is a very interesting character as well. He has some sort of, he's more or less the antagonist of the film, but it becomes more shades of grey as the film goes on, and sort of the themes are developed a bit more of sort of, you know, totalitarianism and sort of what makes people who they are. I think that's a very interesting point that is put across from the film. And yeah, it's very short, 1 hour and 40 minutes really. That is a short film in the age of 2025, and it's a breakneck pace for a film that is just talking. It goes and goes and goes, and I was never once bored watching this film. Some of the negatives that I do want to touch on though, I wasn't keen on the ending. I understood the ending, I got the ending, and I understood what it was going for, but for me, there are 3 emotional points in the film. The emotional point at the end didn't hit as hard as the other 2 emotional moments that happened sort of within the second act, rather. Second and start of the third act, there's some emotional beats there. They hit more than the actual ending did for me. I'm not sure why that is. I think it was just, it almost felt too quick towards the very end sequence when it reaches the sort of end of the race. That is when it just went quick. And I feel like we didn't get enough time to breathe with the moment that happens at the end. But I did like the ending shot. The ending shot I thought was very poignant and stood out a lot to me. Something else that did bother me a little bit, and it's because the rest of the film is so sort of on location. It's all shot, I presume in like Midwest America with loads of fields, cornfields, just one long road. It is the CGI blood. There's quite a bit of egregious CGI blood in moments. Like, it is a very gruesome film. There are some gnarly stuff that happens in particularly the second act, but some of the CGI blood looked too CGI. You know, I feel like it could have been done with blood capsules. It could have been done with some sort of practical effect, because the blood just looked a bit weird, sort of when people were getting shot. That was the issue that I felt there. But overall, I think this is one of the best films of the year. I really, really thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't wait to watch it again. It's one of my favourite Stephen King adaptations, actually. And I'm saying that, never read the book. It might be completely different to the book. But comparing it to sort of the Life of Chuck that came out, I think this is leaps and bounds beyond what Life of Chuck set out to do. And yeah, this is one I definitely recommend you check out if you're a fan of Stephen King, if you're a fan of thrillers. I'd highly recommend you check this one out, particularly in cinemas. Go support your local cinema. Overall, I'd give this 4.5 out of 5. It is genuinely one of my favourite films of the year. Knocked it down that little bit just because of the ending and some of the sort of egregious blood spatter. But let's talk about some spoilers. Some moments that hit. This is your spoiler warning. We're going to talk about the ending and the emotional moments that happened. I think the most emotional moment for me that really got me is in the middle of the film when they are walking through Raymond's home state and he sees his mother and runs back and sort of embraces her. That one hit me. That one hit me and I was tearing up. I think the death of Hank is incredibly emotional. The death of Arthur also hit me. So there's really 3 emotional beats that really hit. Those are the ones that really gut punched me, and I was like, I feel this, because it feels like a group of friends who have just been torn apart from each other. I really like some of the dialogue that happened in the middle as well, sort of discussing the long walk as a concept and what it benefits. The fact that no one volunteers for this because no one has any other choice in this world where there's no money. They have no choice but to sign up for this and hope that they win. The overall plan of Raymond going to use the wish of the long walk. So when he wins, he is going to ask for the carbine so he can shoot the general, because the general sort of shot his father back in the day for having things that promoted art and culture in this sort of dystopian world that's illegal. I thought that was a good story. I thought that was a good tale of revenge, and the fact that it's subverted a little bit at the end. When we get to the end and they've reached the home stretch, neither guy seems like they can do it between Peter and Raymond, and it looks like that Peter is going to stop, and Raymond carries him forward, and then Raymond falls back and he stays, and he's the one who gets shot, and it's actually Peter who survives. I think that was a nice twist, because I was expecting, Peter to, particularly with what he described at the beginning of the film, I thought he was just going to sit down and he was going to let Raymond win, but no, it is instead Raymond who does the same for Peter. I liked that. The bit that I wasn't too keen on is it didn't linger sort of on the emotional death as much as I thought it would, the death of Raymond, because that wasn't as much of a gut punch as the moments with Arthur and with Hank, for me personally, even though he is the most fleshed out character, he's the main character. The shooting of the general, in which Peter, who says, don't do revenge is a bad thing, you shouldn't do this, you should use your wish to do good. He asks for the carbine, he shoots Mark Hamill dead in the face, and then walks off into the rain. I thought that was a good ending. I think that was a good ending. I just wish I wish I'd been hit more by the emotion of it. I didn't really feel the emotion of that scene. I liked it in concept, and the fact that he changed his morals to sort of fit the idea of vengeance that Raymond had sort of put into him, and he exacts revenge for Ray. Yeah, I like it as an idea. I don't necessarily love the execution of it, but overall, it's amazing. It's a really, really strong and powerful film. And the big question that you're probably asking, and I've put this in the spoiler bit, so if you're still watching, you probably want to know, if they are walking for, this is about 5 days, I think they do, how do they go to the toilet? That is answered. That question is answered in the film, because I had the same thought at the beginning. I was like, okay, this is gonna last a while. Are they going to address them taking a shit? And they do, which is, I appreciate that, because that is the one question that I think a lot of people are probably asking if they're walking for this long. When do they take a shit? Is that in the rules? I like the rules as well. Speaking of the rules, I really enjoyed the fact that they laid out the rules. I think it's cool that they get to, they ask for water, they can get water, they have 3 strikes, they have to maintain above 3 miles per hour. It does a really good job of setting up the rules of the world and the rules of the game. And I think it draws apt comparisons to the Hunger Games, because it's directed by Francis Lawrence. Francis Lawrence directed the Hunger Games. For me, I think this is a way better dystopian survival of the fittest story than Hunger Games ever was. This is so far and beyond. It has more interesting characters. It has more interesting, just compelling dialogue. It's not all shaky cam. I really, really enjoyed it. And in terms of dystopian, totalitarian films, it's a really, really grim at times, but enjoyable time at the cinema. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Were you a fan? Are you going to check it out? It comes out this Friday here in the UK. So let me know your thoughts, and I'll try to reply to every single one of them. Thank you all so much for your support, and have a nice day.